In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect the next skein of yarn onto a project that you've already started. This could be if you're doing changing colors, maybe you're striping or blocking, or let's say the skein midway ended up having a knot in it. I don't like to leave knots in my project, especially a crochet because it's double-sided. So I would take the knot out and connect my yarn this way. This is a project I already started, so this is a continuation of a video that I just posted, and it's the baby afghan in the half double crochet stitch. And so this is literally now where I did one skein of yarn and I attached the next skein, and because I wanted to keep the colors going in the same pattern, you know, the same order, the purple, the blue, the green, the yellow, and I wanted it to start over with the next skein, purple, blue, green, yellow. I ended up having to split my skein in two and wind up the color in a ball. Okay, so now I'm going to finish this off, the last part, and this is how you attach the next piece of yarn. So I crocheted up to the point where I've got about this much of a tail left over, and I did go through the entire part of the half double crochet. It's not midway through, it's all the way the actual stitch. All right, what I'm going to do is take the yarn, and again I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail here because I'm going to weave this in as I'm crocheting. So I've got one loop on my hook, and I'm going to pretend I'm yarning over like I would for the half double crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to insert into the next stitch, and I'm going under both pieces of yarn. And with this, then I'm going to take my yarn, and I've got the working yarn hanging out here. I'm going to take the tail from that same piece and put it on top, okay, right underneath my hook, right on top of the other piece of yarn. I'm also going to grab the leftover tail that I had from the yarn from before. Okay, I'm taking both pieces here and putting it underneath my hook. I'm going to yarn over, and then this will be the yarn over where I pull through one loop. Okay, part of the half double crochet. It's a little tricky because it's hard to see. I want to get it through the hole and the yarn. I have 3 loops on the thing. Okay, what did I pull through? I did the yarn over, and then I pulled it back through that stitch that I put the hook in. That creates now 3 loops on the hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull it through all 3 loops. Okay, now this is going to start to weave in. So what I'm going to do for the next stitch, I still yarn over. I've got those 2 pieces of yarn sitting right on top here. I'm not leaving them hanging out. I'm going to include this, and I'm going to insert the hook, yarn over again, pull the hook through, yarn over, and go through the 3 loops. Okay, now it's being woven in. All right, then I'm going to do it again. Yarn over, insert through the next stitch. I've got those 2 pieces of yarn sitting right there along with it. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Okay, now those 2 pieces of yarn are inside here. And again, yarn over, next stitch, insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3 loops. And I'm going to keep going, keeping these 2 pieces of yarn tucked inside here. Okay, long enough because you don't want them to pull out as you stretch the afghan, meaning the afghan might get pulled. You don't want those pieces to fall out. So I want to keep a little bit longer of an amount here to keep that tucked in there. It would just be like a drawstring. You don't have a real short drawstring. You want to have a lot on the end. So just in case you pull that drawstring, you know, with that elastic, like on your pants or on a bag or something, you have it plenty long so it doesn't pull out of those 2 holes, whether it went through the dryer or, you know, whatever. You definitely want that drawstring long enough. And I'm going to do one more. Yarn over, insert hook in the next stitch. Okay, it's tricky here because now they're short. Okay, you still want to keep those intact. I don't want to cut that off. and then again yarn over, pull through. My last one here, push them down with your finger, keep them underneath your hook, don't let them stick out, like get them in there, yarn over, pull through 3, and that should be enough. Now what do I do with this? I'm just going to get those out of the way. I'm going to yarn over, go into my next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull 3. I'm going to do one more, yarn over, okay, pull 3, and then show you what it's going to look like. So they're sticking out here, all right, which is fine. And then I'll obviously keep going with my row. The next row is not even going to affect it. Then, you know, I don't want these sticking out probably, right? So what I'll do is I'll pull and stretch it enough, okay, to make sure that it's not too short and it's popping out here. And I'll see what's hanging out here. This is pretty much fully stretched, okay? I'm just going to let them disappear. I'm not even going to cut them, all right? And that is the section now, how you connect the next piece of yarn. All right, and then the next section on this video is going to be adding a border. Okay, now I'm at the last row. So I noticed as I was going, the afghan was getting just a little bit too long. So I decided to just do basically one full row of the pink that started to come out. And I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna use what I have left over and do the border. So I'm going to now start going down the side here. Okay, I want to make a nice border on here so this is a little bit straighter and it finishes it off really nice. And what I'm going to do is use a single crochet for this. Okay, so I have the 2 chains on here that I just did to finish off this row, and that's going to help establish going around the corner here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the single crochet. So for the hole that I'm going to use the next stitch, I'm going to skip over this hole here, which is the top row of the length of the afghan. I'm going to skip over that hole, okay, or going under that stitch, and I'm going to go into the very next one. Okay, it's a pretty big stitch. And we're going to insert the hook, yarn over, pull through, make sure that your loop here isn't too loose on here, you know, get it back to like a regular size stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull through both loops. Now for this, because there are so many stitches on the side, there's so many holes here, a lot more than there is up on the top, okay? And even on the top here, it's very prominent which stitch you're supposed to insert the hook into. Not so much on the side here. I don't want to add bulk and pucker. It will pucker the afghan here. I can already kind of tell that it is. I'm going to skip every other hole here, every other stitch, and do the single crochet so it kind of pulls it so it's a little bit more square, a little bit tighter, and so it will fold nicer, it will lay flatter. So I already did this one hole. Now I'm going to skip and go to the next hole or stitch. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, skip, and stitch. Okay, skip, insert. Pretty easy to keep track of. You just skip and go every other. And it's going to give me just the right amount of stitches here on the side, because I'm going to come back and go the other way to give it a 2-row border. So skip and go into the stitch. All right, so keep working that pattern, and I will see you at the end of this row here, the corner. So I'm not quite at the corner yet, but I want to show you as I'm going along. Okay, you've got like a little, it's like at the thin border, okay? And as you can tell, and this is going every other stitch, it's kind of pulling those larger holes together. It may offer a little bit of puckering in some spots, but what you're doing is, instead of kind of catering to that outstretched look here in these stitches, you're pulling them more together. So don't worry about that. It's gonna look really nice in the end. So it's laying fairly flat, and this is what this side looks like, and this is what this side looks like. Just so you know, you're doing okay. And if you just happen to maybe do a stitch that you you did 2 in a row or you skipped too many, you can easily pull it out, the stitch here, and just redo it. Okay, just kind of eyeball your work here and make sure that you're watching and seeing what's going on. Okay, so I've got about this much left, so then I will see you at the corner. Okay, now I'm at the corner, and when I got there, I wanted to do the last 3 stitches all in a row. I didn't skip anything here because I want to make sure there's no gaps. So finish that off doing the 1, 2, 3, probably 4, 3 or 4 in a row. All right, then finish off the row by doing 1 chain stitch, and then we're going to flip the afghan around to the other side, and we're going to now single crochet going back the other way, because you have basically, it's unfinished. You have this side looking like this side looking different, so I definitely want to do another row on this particular afghan or pattern to make the border a little bit wider and just finish off that look. Okay, gotta get my whole thing here figured out. And now going back, you're gonna hit every single stitch. So I'm going on under both pieces of yarn, okay, under the stitch. Pull this loop here tighter, make sure it's fitting around the hook better. Don't leave it larger, because sometimes when you turn your work around, that loop is gonna loosen up a little bit. Insert, pull it through, and yarn over and pull through both. And then you're gonna go down the entire row, going into every stitch that you made of your border. Okay, so keep working that, and I will see you at the end. Okay, so I'm almost at the end here, the corner, but here's just a little check-in of how it's looking. All right, here's the side that I'm working on, and then here's the other side. Looks super cute. So I'm gonna keep going to the corner here with you. And then what I'm deciding here, because I'm kind of checking out how much do I have left here. It's really hard for me to know until I start doing stuff, like how much yarn do I have, how much do I need. You know, you get a kind of a guideline. Like I ended up using 2 skeins for this project, okay? And hard for me to know, you know, how to finish it. So as with any other art piece, you kind of sometimes just create as you go. So what I'm gonna decide to do, I'm gonna finish this side off, and I'm gonna cut off the yarn, and I'm gonna weave the ends in, and then I'm gonna go to the other side and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm not gonna do anything more here on the top or the bottom. All right, so I'm almost at the end. We're getting every stitch. Okay, it gets a little, like I can't see it, so I'm just gonna let the hook find it. Single crochet. And I have 1 more stitch here. I want to catch this. I'm going to finish off the row. So now I am going under or into the stitch that's on the bottom or top row here. Okay. And single crochet that. We are going to do a chain stitch here, and then I'm going to cut this off. I'm not going to give myself very much here because I'm going to save as much yarn as I can to do the other side. So I'm going to give myself about that much yarn. Take your hook, pull that yarn through, and that makes your little knot. And then I'm going to grab my plastic needle, and I'm going to weave this in right away. So I'll show you how to do that. Folding my yarn here a little bit on the end, because I can stick that through the eye of the needle easier than trying to do the very end. It kind of pulls the strands apart. And from here, I'm going to pick the side that I want to do this in. It doesn't matter. I can go on this side or flip it over. And that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to find the first available. Make sure you don't go back through the loop that you just pulled it through. I'm going to find the first available stitch. I don't want to go too far. And stick it underneath 1 piece of yarn. Actually, I'm going to go this way. Stick it under 1 piece of yarn, because now I'm going to go in the middle. So on the back side, you don't want to see the needle there coming through. So that's 1 I'm going to see if I can catch another one here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to catch as many as I can. I'm going right underneath the one strand. Because this is plastic, it's not sharp on the end, so it doesn't go through as easy. If I had a sharper needle, I'd be able to go through. And then I'm going to catch here. It doesn't have to go straight across, doesn't have to go straight down. I'm trying to catch the tightest stitches here. Okay, now I'm not quite sure if I'm getting just in between, so let's flip this over. Okay, now see how it's going to start to show through here? I don't want to do that, so I'm going to pull this back out, and I really want to get right in the middle of the stitch. So honestly, I'm just going to sew this through here just to show you. Okay, this is knotted. It's forming a nice corner here, and it's in between the stitch, the loop. Okay, so I'm going to jump over here, and I'm going to go underneath this, and then under the next one. I don't want to skip over too far because I don't want the strand of yarn to show. And let's pull this through. Yeah, see, I don't see the needle on the other side. So that means it's getting stitched in to the work. Okay, now I'm going to skip down here, and I'm going to go vertical, because there's a hole here, so I don't want to skip over to the next stitch over here. That will leave, this strand could possibly come out if it gets pulled. So I want to go in my pattern as much as I can in these stitches. Okay, I'm not really liking that. So I'm going to pull that out, and I want to really get into the inside of the stitch. You can tell if it's really loose, your needle, and it's getting shoved through super easy, that means you're not catching the loop on top. Yeah, see, there we go, very good. And I do want to get a little farther away from the corner here, just in case it gets stretched. I don't want to pull this out. This end here, I want to make sure this is really sewn in. So I'm going to keep going down because I like these stitches, they're tighter. You want to find the tighter stitches. And I'm just going in the middle of the loop, middle of the stitch. And it's getting tricky to push through here. Checking the back side. Oh yeah, see, I can't see the needle. So that's a really good stitch there. And I want to go a little bit farther. So I'm going to actually catch this now going across. I'm not going to go down anymore. I'm going to catch these two. And I'm going to go a little diagonal down and catch these two, and one more down diagonal and catch these two. I'm going to check the other. Look at that. Perfect. It's inside the loop or inside the stitch, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now I think I've done enough, and I'm going to kind of pull it and stretch it out a little bit. Okay, so meaning I'm giving this long enough here, and then there you are. Don't get too close. Don't get too close to the other stitch. You don't want to cut that off. So it's okay if it sticks out just a little bit. Okay, hope you can see that, because I don't want you to cut a stitch that you made. That would not be fun. You would unravel your afghan. All right, so this side is done. Now we're going to jump over to the other side. Now, okay, I'm going to back up because I just got done doing this side here. I want the border to look the same on both sides, right? Because it can look a little different. So what I'm going to do is carefully turn this. And I don't want to start on the same side. I want to go back to the other side. So, okay, I just turned, I'm on the same side here. I just turned it now to get to the other edge. But now I'm going to flip this over. Okay, I mean, I guess maybe I could be getting a little too picky, but you know, why not? It's not going to be horrible if you don't do it that way. But so I flipped it over. Now I got to get to the beginning because I go right to left. Okay, and I'm going to work my single crochet. So I'm going to grab the end of my yarn here. I still have this little tail. This is the very beginning of where I started the project. I'm going to leave that for right now. To start this off, I'm going to find the corner stitch, Okay, I want to make sure I'm grabbing 2 pieces of yarn, 2 strands. I don't want to just grab that little corner there with the 1 piece. Okay, I want to get a substantial, I don't like that little 1 piece there because it can pull and then you got this gap. So we're going to see if we can get, I'm going to go in here a little further. All right, so leave a little tail because you're going to want to weave that in. And we're going to pull yarn over, basically, pull it through. And then I'm going to have you take that yarn, that tail, and stick it here, grab it with your thumb, hold it down, and then yarn over and pull through. Now I want to go into the same hole. Okay, I just found that this works better. Go into the same hole that you just stitched. It's going to establish this end here a little bit, and do another single crochet. Okay. And in the meantime, I am having this, I'm going to pull this a little tighter because it's kind of sticking out on the end here. I'm pulling this a little tighter. I'm going to weave this in as I crochet now. So now we're going back to the every other pattern. So I got the corner. Now I'm going to skip and go into every other stitch as I am, I don't want this one. I'm going to weave this in with my, whoops, with my needle later. So I don't want this first original tail here. Let me get that out because that will be too thick. 2 pieces of yarn weaving in, I don't particularly like that, so I'm going to keep that one out. I'm just going to weave in the new one that I'm working with. Okay, got to get everything situated here, and then I'm at the part where I'm pulling through 2 loops. Now we're going to skip a stitch and find the next one. It's kind of tricky in the beginning just to establish where those are. This one, like, it almost doesn't even have a hole there for me. And then make sure that that little tail is right on top of your hook and your work. Pull this, tighten this a little bit. Pull it through and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And keeping this working with me. Okay, I'm skipping this huge hole here. I want to skip over that. I want to go into the next. I want to pull that together a little bit. And we're going to skip. Keep that tail in there. Okay, tucked in so that you can get rid of that right away. You don't have to weave that in later with a needle. Plus, it's a little bit shorter of a tail, so it's going to be really tricky with a needle. Okay, skip. I'm going to keep going here with you guys until I get that tail tucked in. Whoa, I ended up pulling an extra piece from the actual the stitch here. That was interesting. Meaning I inserted it here, and as I pulled it out, it started to pull out this other, the purple. I don't want that. I just want my pink yarn that I'm working with. Crochet is great though, because you can fix things immediately. I saw it, so I'm going to fix it. All right. So just to check in, as you're working this, I'm about halfway. Hopefully it worked out for you that you are skipping all the big stitches and you're going into the smaller ones here. And so it kind of closes up those gaps of those larger holes on the side. But mine, yeah, mine is working out. The every other pattern here where it actually, I'm going into the smaller stitches. So, you know, if you're not, that's okay, but it's just kind of cool. I like the way that this ended up working from the corner. But to tell you the truth, anytime you're working with yarn and doing these patterns and stuff, it can sometimes work out differently. So everything doesn't always work out exactly the same. You could do the same Afghan 5 times and there seems to be a little quirks or discrepancies, and so each of them look unique. But yeah, I just wanted to check in and see. This is so cute. It gets a little tricky when you get into the pink section, the pink on pink, but hopefully you'll get that figured out with the holes. Okay, now I got to the corner, and you actually have two options here to finish this off. All right, so at the corner, you can either finish your single crochet, do your chain, cut your yarn, just like we did before on the other side, pull it through with the hook to knot it, and then stitch your yarn in the tail with your needle. But because I never know how things are going to turn out, I have this much yarn left. And I don't like to end or leave. This is my chain stitch here from the very beginning. I don't like to leave this as the end because it's a little bit tighter. It doesn't have the same look as the part that, I finished. This is the last row that I did. But I'm not going to do a border around the entire thing. I don't need to because this is pink up here and I'm just going to leave it. But I don't like the chain stitch sometimes, and because I have extra yarn, just for the fun of it, I'm going to continue this border. So I went around the corner, and to do that, I did my single crochet in the corner, and then I did 2 chain stitches to get me to go around the corner here. And I went into the first available stitch and did 1 single crochet, and now I'm going into every single stitch, every hole that is the very, very beginning chain stitch of this whole project. I am also taking the tail here. That was my tail from the very beginning, and I'm letting that weave in here. I'm stitching that in as I go, and I showed you that before. Okay, so I'm going to continue here. I'm finding every single stitch. This is my chain stitch, and doing the single crochet, and I'm weaving in that tail. Now it's pretty long, so I don't have to keep weaving it in for the entire length. I can cut it off, and I'm probably going to do that a couple more stitches. I'm going to make sure that I have it long enough so it doesn't get pulled out. Just depends on how much you have, but usually if you do a good amount here, like 3 inches, at least 2, then that should be fine. But it's purple, it's blending right in. You can't even see it, and it's very intact. It's not going to come out. Anyway, so we're going to keep doing every single stitch here, single crochet, and I'm pretty sure I have enough for 2 rows. So I'll see you at the end. I'm at the corner now, and I've only done 1 row of the single crochet, and I'm deciding that I'm only going to do this 1 row because, well, first of all, like I said, I don't like to have the chain stitch, that first foundation chain stitch showing. It's a little tighter. Another thing is I like the stitches at the top here. It's very similar to, of course, the sides, but also the top here that I finished my rows. The reason why I'm not going to do 2 rows here, because the single crochet is a different stitch than the half double crochet, and so I would end up having the border here and not on the other end, and I didn't want to do that. The reason why I did add the pink here is because now I do have all edges in pink, the sides, the beginning, and the end, and this is just a 1 row, so it just kind of worked out that way. You can do really whatever you want to do. You didn't even have to add this in, but I like the way it's finishing off the corners, and each corner is looking the same now. So let's finish this off here. I'm working in the purple here, single crochet, and I've got 1 more purple stitch here, single crochet. Now I'm going into the pink. See, I wanted to really make sure that that was a finished look. So I'm going now into the pink for the single crochet. And I've got 1 more stitch here I want to make. Otherwise this isn't a corner. Okay, it would be a weird edge. So I'm going to go into that top. It's kind of now on the side here, but it's the top 2 stitches that are running along the side here of the border. And I'm going to do the single crochet in that. Okay, that finished that off. Now I'm going to do 1 chain stitch. I'm going to cut this off, not too long. Pull that through with my hook, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew that in, right? Okay, just the same concept that I did before, but let's look at how this looks. So adorable, gorgeous, love the colors, so soft and fluffy. This is the first time I've ever used this yarn. So this is from scratch. This pattern is from scratch. I've never done this before. And like I said, each Afghan kind of turns out unique for sure, but a little different. So like in the beginning, I started with the 100 chains. I didn't want the blanket to be way too wide. I wanted it to be able to be even carried around, travel with, stroller, but it ended up used in a stroller, I should say that better. But it ended up getting kind of long. So cool thing is they can grow into it. Okay, moving into toddler, even, you know, youth size children, whatever. It can also go, you know, you could do it in the stroller. You might fold it up a little bit, but it also looks like it's going to be able to fit on a cute little toddler bed or even a twin bed. But I like it because it's going to be taller than them. So, but love this yarn. Fantastic. Just take your end in here and sew that in. But that is it. I hope you guys love this. Whoever is going to be using this is going to love this. They're going to want to keep this for a long time, if not forever. I hope it was easy for you, and please check back. I'm going to have more videos and more projects. Thank you so very much for watching. So hold on. After I was kind of folding it and looking at it, looking at the end, that literally was the last rows that I did of the Afghan, not the border. It's a little spongy, it's a little stretchy, and I thought, well, I still have yarn left over. I'm gonna actually do one single crochet row on this top. So I started it, and I actually like it, especially because it's pink. So then what this does is this totally caps off the whole thing in the square. The whole thing is now the single crochet stitch. So I started at the end that I had, well, I had a tail, okay? It was left over from this side here. I hadn't weaved that in yet, but I started on the end that was knotted from before, okay, from original. And so, you know, this side over here wasn't knotted. This was, I ended up finishing the row here, and then this is where that row ended. So I started on that end. I took that tail and I wove it in, okay, I crocheted it in, and I'm just doing one single crochet here. And I'm only going to do one row. I'm not going to do two, okay? So it's going to be a little bit tighter, this row here, and so it will match the one that I did where the chain stitch was, okay? These aren't the sides of the Afghan, this is the top and the bottom. So it's just a little bit tighter in here. So when you fold it, it's going to be nice and square, okay? So hopefully that helps. You don't have to do it that way, but it's something I definitely wanted to add in because I had extra yarn. I am so glad I did that. This, as I'm folding it, it finished it off so nicely. It is, it took away the sponginess of that. It capped it off really nice. And when I go to fold it, they're all square edges. It is adorable. So yeah, I'm very glad that I added that one single crochet row. Okay, you guys, I promise this is it. This is the end. Thank you so very much, especially for sticking out to the end here and to get all the pieces of this video and this project. You are going to just love this. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.